So recently, a nurse in the UK got into trouble with the NMC because this nurse failed to alert her employer that she's been overpaid, and this got this nurse into serious, massive trouble. I started a series on my channel not long ago about pay slips comparisons, where professionals come and then we compare pay slips in different countries, right? In some of the episodes, some of the NHS nurses that gave me their pay slips, I realized that some of them did not really understand their pay slips themselves, because in order for me to prepare the video, I would ask them, so what does this mean? When I get to that part of the video, how do I explain this? And they'll say, hey, I don't know, please Google it. See, the pay slip is a legal document that confirms your income, your tax contributions, and so many things. And you may be required to use your pay slip to claim credits like buy a house, get a mortgage, or to claim government benefits, etc. So knowing your pay slip is very, very important. And most importantly, if you understand your pay slip, you'll be able to detect any error, whether you've been underpaid, if you're paying the wrong taxes, or if you've been overpaid, so that you can alert your employer and you don't get into trouble. So I took the pain to go through the NHS payslip and understand it and come and explain to you guys. It applies to all employees of the NHS. So from doctors to nurses to care assistants. So far as you work with the NHS, you're going to have a similar payslip, and that's what we're going to dissect in today's video. So if you're interested, stay tuned. Hi guys, my name is Nanelle. I'm a nurse registered in the UK, but originally from Ghana. On this channel, I talk about nursing, I talk about migrating, I talk about opportunities for people to relocate to the UK and life in the UK as an immigrant in general. So if these are topics that interest you in any way, please do consider subscribing. The NHS payslip, in my opinion, it's in 5 different parts. So the part 1, that's the top section. Part 2 is the part about the earnings. Part 3 is more about deductions. Part 4, that's the year-to-date summary. And then there's the part 5, that's the this period summary section. So it's in 5 parts, and I'm going to dissect all these 5 parts so that you can understand it properly. So the first part, the part 1, is very self-explanatory for the most part, and you are likely to understand that part easily. So that part has your assignment number, and it has your employee name, the location, that's the hospital you're working for, and then your job title, the pay scale description, okay, and then the department you're working, the salary stroke wage, the increment date, the standard hours, the PT salary stroke wage, the tax office name, the tax office reference, the tax code, and then the NI number. Okay, so let's talk about the assignment number. So the assignment number is the first 8 digits of your employee number. This is unique to everybody. Everybody's assignment number is going to be different, okay? And so if you have more than one post, it will be indicated by 2, 3, you understand? So that is your assignment number, okay? Nothing really to that. And then they have the salary stroke wage, okay? So you know that based on the level you are in the NHS pay scale, okay, you are expected to earn some particular amount of money at the end of the year, right? So we have the NHS pay scale from band 1 to band 9, where band 9 is like the top senior nurses, okay? So let's say if you're band 5, you know that currently Band 5s are earning, as stated in the NHS employers website, it says that for Band 5, you're supposed to get 28,407 for entry point. After 2 years, you qualify to get an increment to move it to 30,639. Okay, so this is how much you're expected to earn before tax per year based on the level you are at, okay? When you come to the salary stroke wage, this indicates your full salary according to which point you are in the pay scale, you understand? And we also have the increment date, so that is self-explanatory. So you know that the longer you work for the NHS, the higher your pay. So they have lower band 5, middle band 5, and then, you know, top band 5. And then each one has a sort of like an increment. So if you are band 5 and you work for the NHS for longer, you're going to earn more than somebody who's just entered and is band 5, okay, based on the number of years that you have worked. So the increment date is when next you are due for an increment in your salary. So that's the date there. And then they also have standard hours, okay? So the number of hours that you are contracted to work. In the NHS, the standard number of hours is 37.5 for those that are working full-time, 37.5 hours per week for those that are working full-time, okay? So that's their contracted hours. And then now, listen, there's the PT salary stroke wage. Remember, we looked at salary stroke wage, which is your annual income before tax and before overtime, right? Now we have the PT salary stroke wage. So this is the actual salary you will get per year according to your contracted hours. So you know that although let's say you're band 5 and you're supposed to get a certain amount of money per year, that is calculated based on 37.5 hours per week, because that's the standard contracted hours for the NHS. But maybe for you, you are only working 30 hours per week, so you are not really going to get that amount at the end of the year. So the PT salary stroke wage is the actual salary that you get per year according to your contracted hours. Okay, so if you are doing the standard contracted hours, the PT salary stroke wage and then the salary stroke wage should be the same. But if you're doing less, then you're likely to have a lower PT salary stroke wage amount. You understand? So the next thing is the tax and NI information. And guys, this is very, very important. Okay, so there are some things that you should have in mind. Okay, your tax code and then your NI number. These things you should have off head. And anytime you phone the HMRC or you are speaking to your HR about something, they might need these information, your NI number and then your current tax code. Okay, so you have to take note of this, right? And then there's a tax office reference, okay, that is there as well. So usually the tax code, your tax code, it can change based on the number of jobs that you have and based on how much you are earning at the end of the year, right? So you know we have the tax brackets in the UK. The tax brackets show how much tax you are supposed to pay based on how much you're earning. The more you are earning per year, the more tax you're going to pay. Okay, so let's have a look at the current tax brackets in the UK. This applies to those that live in Northern Ireland, England, and Wales. Okay, so the tax bracket shows personal allowance. Everybody's entitled to personal allowance, and this is an amount of money from your income that is not taxed. Okay, the government gives you that free of charge every tax year. Okay, everybody has personal allowance. So for this tax bracket chart that we have here, it says for most people, your tax-free allowance is going to be 12,570. So you're not going to pay tax on this amount, okay? But there are people that just came to the UK and then they realize that they are paying taxes even though they've not made their 12,570 yet. They are not being cheated. They still have a way to calculate it so that by the end of the year, 12,570 of your earnings will not have been calculated. But if you still think that you're being cheated, just phone the HMRC, okay? Anything over the 12,570 to £50,000 in that year, you're going to pay 20%, okay? And then if you make over 50,271 to 125,140, you're going to pay 40%, and then like that, okay, as tax alone. So anytime you see your tax code, multiply it by 10, okay? So this is going to be unique to everybody based on several things, right? But for most people, your tax-free allowance is going to be 12,570, especially if you have only one job, you're not picking extra shifts. If you decide to pick overtime as well, your tax-free allowance will change. It's likely to reduce a bit. So always multiply your tax code by 10 to get your current tax-free allowance. You understand? Yes. This person's tax code is 1283L. So multiply by, let's take the L out and multiply by 10, okay? And we will have 12,830. So this person's 12,830 will not be taxed, okay? So the rest will be taxed, okay? So now we have spoken about the first part, so now you understand what the differences are, right? Okay, so before we go into the most exciting part of the payslip, let me give a big shout out to the sponsor of today's video. So today's video is proudly sponsored by Lemonade Finance. So Lemonade Finance is a money transfer app that allows you to send money from the UK, Canada, or the US to 10 different African countries at no transfer charge. Their rates are the best so far, like really. So you can send money from the UK, Canada, and the US to countries like Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Cameroon, Senegal, Ivory Coast at no transfer charge. Use the link in the description to download Lemonade Finance, whether you use an iPhone or whether you use an Android phone, and send money now. When you use the referral code Nanelle, you get 10% of the money you're transferring back into your account. So if you use Nanelle and you send £100, you get £10 back. If you use Nanelle and you send £200, you get £20 back, but it's capped at £50. They are very, very reliable, and the money goes instantly, like that moment, like that moment, okay? So thank you so much, Lemonade Finance, for sponsoring today's video. Comment below if you have used Lemonade Finance before. Comment below if Lemonade Finance has come through for you before. You can use it whether you use an iOS, whether you use an Android, with no issues at all. And their customer service, they are on point. They are ready to respond to your questions or your query at any point in time. Guys, the amazing thing is you get value for your money because the rates are the best. That is what they are known for, the best rate. Lemonade Finance, best rate, instant money transfer. Thank you so much, Lemonade Finance, for sponsoring today's video. If you want to make your first transaction, just use the link in my description, okay? Now let's come to the exciting part. That's the pay and allowances section, okay? It's in 5 different columns. So the first column is the description, the second column is the WKD end, and then the paid amount, and then the rate, and then amount again. I'm going to explain, okay? So in the UK, you're paid per hour, right? And the basic pay simply means your contracted number of hours times your hourly rates, okay? Or the number of hours you worked that particular pay period multiplied by your hourly rates, okay? But you know that some months have more than 4 weeks. They have 4 weeks and some days on top. So if you're working 37.5 hours each week, at the end of the month, it should be 150 hours. But if you look at my friend's own, it was 162.95 hours, meaning there were some extra days on top of the 4 weeks, okay? So that's how come. So it is the number of hours you worked in the entire pay period multiplied by your rate, okay? So the number of hours was 162.95, so they were due to be paid 162.95 hours, and their rate is 14.9231, okay? So the amount is £2,431.67, okay? So this is the first thing you see on your pay slip, okay? The number of hours you worked in that pay period multiplied by your hourly rates, okay? And then they talk about what we call unsocial hours, okay? So as you all know, nurses work 24/7. There's somebody in the hospital at any point in time, morning, afternoon, night, bank holiday, weekend, whatever. So if the hours is considered unsocial, you get something extra on top of the basic, right? So unsocial hours include bank holidays. They include nights, all nights, whether they are weekday night or weekend nights. And then we have Saturday and Sundays as well, okay? And all these are calculated differently. So if you're working 9 shifts, okay? So any weekday from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m., you get 30% of the hours you've worked within these hours of the night. So remember that your basic pay has already been calculated, where all the hours you worked have been multiplied by your hourly rate already, okay? Then they will go back to check out of those same hours that you worked in the month, which of those hours were night shifts, okay? And if they were weekday nights, from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. the next day, you will be given 30% extra of the hours that you work multiplied by your hourly rate again. So all nights and Saturdays, that's extra 30% of the hours that you work multiplied by your hourly rate. And this is the sweet part. For all bank holidays and for Sundays, okay, it's 60% of the hours that you worked multiplied by your hourly rate. Okay, so if you look at my friend's pay slip, the basic pay was 162.95. That's the number of hours they worked in the entire month, and this was multiplied by 14.9231. That's their hourly rate, and it gave them £2,431.67. So that one is there. And then out of the 162 hours, they realized that 11.5 of those hours was done on a bank holiday. Okay, and remember, bank holiday is 60% extra. Okay, so now 60% of the 11.5 hours, let's calculate it. 60 divided by 100 times 11.50 hours, and that gives you 6.90 hours, okay? So it's not all the 11.5 hours that is going to be enhanced. It's 60% of those hours. I'm sure it's 11 hours because maybe it was just one day, one bank holiday in that pay period. So 60% of the 11.50 hours is 6.90. So that's the hours due to be paid, not the entire 11.50 hours. And this 6.90 hours multiplied by the person's normal hourly rate, which is 14.92, gave £102.97. And my friend again did night duty, okay? So night duty in all the month, when we calculate his, he did about 53.50 hours of night duty. So out of the 53.50 hours, they are going to calculate another 30% of those hours and multiply by your hourly rate. So 30 divided by 100 times 53.50. And that is 16.05 of those hours is going to be multiplied again by 14.9231. And that gives you 239.52. So imagine that you don't even know what's happening, and then you get your pay slip. This month was not good at all. Meanwhile, you worked. What if your calculations were done wrongly? You know, these things happen. And there was a time I got a letter from HMRC and I got £1,700 because they realized I had been underpaid for a certain period. Okay, so you have to check. It's not all the time that they would rectify it. Sometimes you would have to prompt them. So you have to understand what is going on the payslip. So the guys, this is that part. You have to understand this part, okay? And then they have something called WTD pay, right? Based on the European Union legislation, there's a set minimum number of hours that people are supposed to work, you know, rest, annual leave, blah, blah, blah. So they have a way that they calculate it so that if you work additional hours or if you work additional on social hours, they will give you something small. This person had a WTD pay of £44.65. Okay, now let's go to the deductions, the not so pleasant part, the deductions and any refunds that you get. If there's R, it means it's a refund, okay? So over there, it also has 3 columns. So we have the description, the amount, and then the balance, okay? So the UK, we use the payee, which is the pay as you earn. You know, unlike the US, after the tax year, you'd have to get an accountant and calculate all your taxes, and then you pay your taxes, and sometimes you get a refund, blah, blah, blah. For the UK, you pay as you are earning, okay? You don't have to wait till the year ends before you pay. NI is your national insurance contributions, and then we have the pension. The NHS pension at the moment is 9.8%, and then your pension arrears, okay? So this NI also is deducted, and this NI you pay based on how much you're earning as well. If you're earning more than £242 a week, you're gonna pay NI. And we also have like brackets for this NI, okay? So if you're earning between £1,048 a month to £4,189 a month, you're going to pay 12% as NI, okay? And then we have the NHS pensions. So once you start working with the NHS, you'll be automatically enrolled in their pension scheme, right? Until maybe you want to opt out, and then you opt out. I can make a whole video about that later as to why you should not opt out, okay? So when it comes to the pension as well, how much you pay, there's a tier bracket as well for that, just like we have for the taxes and just like we have for the NI. There's a tier or like a table tier bracket structure for that as well. So you're going to pay your pension based on how much you earn at the end of the year, right? So if you're earning, let's say, £13,246 per year, you're likely to be paying around 5.1% per month as pension. So automatically, your employer is also paying 3% of your earnings as part of your pension as well. So that's really good, okay? So let's look at the part 5, okay? Let's look at this period summary first before we look at year-to-date summary, okay? So that you understand better, okay? So when you look at this period summary, you have pensionable pay. So pensionable pay is your total amount of money before pension or before tax is deducted, okay? So the pensionable pay is just like your gross, okay? So if you look at my friend's earnings, when you add everything together, you're going to get 3618.13 because pension is always deducted first before tax, okay? So after pension has been taken out, and then you'll be taxed on what is left, okay? So the pensionable pay is the gross, really. So let's add and see if we're going to get the same amount. 2431.67 plus 102.97 plus 239.52 plus 69.39 plus 205.94 plus 13.43 plus 486.33 minus 1.56 plus 70.40. See, my friend was deducted for home electronics and home electrical, whatever. Those were deducted. So when we add everything in the amount section, you get 3,618.13. And that is your gross, and that is your pensionable pay. So before tax is deducted, pension is deducted before tax, okay? So pension will be deducted from the gross. So the taxable pay is the amount of money left after pension has been deducted, okay? So now you're going to be paid tax based on this amount, okay? And remember, everybody has a tax-free allowance in every tax year, right? Okay, so the tax period, yeah, and then the frequency, like this is done monthly, and then the period end date, and then the pay date, and then the payment method, okay? So after tax was deducted from the taxable pay, the net pay is £2,457.70, okay? So that's how much you're taking home. So the year to date, okay, which is the other part, is a summary of this period, okay? And it's for that particular employment only, okay? And how much NI they've paid for that whole year, NI contributions for that whole year, other NI pay, the pensionable pay that whole year, and there's the reference number as well. So basically, this is the NHS payslip explained, Okay, this is crazy, it's a lot, but I hope I made sense and I hope you understood. Comment below which part did you not know earlier that you know now, or which parts did I forget to mention, or what important detail did I leave out. And if you benefited from this video, please give this video a thumbs up and hit subscribe button as well. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.